See, that's also not accurate. I'm an intellectual property attorney, Chris Holzhauser at Getz Baelish. We do all kinds of intellectual property work, from patent, trademark, copyright, licensing agreements, anything in the preparation and prosecution areas, and we can help you with any of your intellectual property needs.
Tell me about what you know about ChatGPT.
Certainly not an expert on it at this point, but I've kind of been fascinated by some of the early information I've seen. I mean, it really does seem to be able to provide convincing alternatives to what we might think of a human writing. Kind of an amazing ability to follow instructions and provide human-seeming writing. And I've seen that in a variety of contexts, from explanations of basic scientific concepts, explanations of legal concepts, history. Really kind of fascinating.
Interesting, and I'm curious to know, before we kind of get into the prompts, because Chris is going to read some AI prompts of content that was written by ChatGPT, specifically offering some potential legal advice. So of course, I'd love to know what you think is going to happen long term with law AI text.
That's a good question, and it's a good question for any industry. As it relates to law, I think the question I see a lot is this going to replace lawyers? Maybe in some cases it will. Maybe for simple things or areas where lawyers are doing kind of basic advisory work. But in general, I don't think so. I think it's more likely that AI will be used to assist lawyers, kind of like other advances in technology have. For example, some of the more mundane parts of legal work, legal research, some areas of legal writing and contract drafting, and things like that. Maybe the computer will be able to do some of that work and free up the attorney to focus on more legal concepts. So in that case, it has the potential really to maybe reduce client costs by freeing up an attorney to do more work, more output rather, with the same amount of time.
Right.
So I think it will help legal clients, and I think maybe it will improve work product, but I don't think it will
replace
lawyers.
And that's very interesting, and that's kind of the feedback I've been hearing from different professions. ChatGPT actually posted a LinkedIn post, and it was a graphic, and it was a very interesting graphic, and it said, ChatGPT will not replace you. A human using ChatGPT will replace you.
Right.
And I think it's interesting because the thing is not biased as much as it can be. There's no strategy behind it. It's kind of just giving you, like you said, some of that ground research, some of that, text mundane things that we kind of go through in our day that we really shouldn't be doing, a robot can be doing. So we have several different examples up here on the screen for you. And you can't see them right now because I don't want you to know which one they are. And so our team, what they really did is they wrote AI one and then a human one. So our team wrote one manually based on the little research that they did. They're probably not an expert, but they got some good information from our trustworthy Google. And then they had the AI rewrite it. So I want to see ultimately if you can tell the difference between the two pieces of text. And if you can, then it's probably not a good use case for attorneys to basically get some quick stuff done. And if you can't, then it could be a potentially good use case for that. So I'm gonna have you close your eyes, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull up the first example, and there you go. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna read the screen, and then you're going to guess if this was written by a human or an AI.
Well, I'm going to say this is AI generated.
Okay, and what makes you think that?
Well, the information here is good, albeit kind of a basic understanding of copyright filing. But there's a few things in here that are maybe strange. A few different instances where the use of we have a few cases in here where maybe the writing is inconsistent, or maybe it looks like it was taken from the copyright website, maybe something like that.
Okay, cool. So this was actually this one was written by a human.
Okay.
So that one was a human, but let's move on to our next one. What constitute fair use? It's hard.
Yeah, I mean, I can see this going either way.
Really?
Again, the information here is pretty good and provides a useful primer on fair use. All right, I'll say it's the AI this time.
It's a human. Second one with human. All right, third time's a charm.
These all human.
These two were
messing with me.
These two were human. These two were actually human. And this one is how to register a copyright.
All right, I'm going to say it's an AI again.
All right, this one is an AI.
I should tell you why first.
Yeah,
because
tell me why.
It's the writing is very polished this time around, and maybe more so, in a way that you would attribute to a computer writing as opposed to a human. So that's what I noticed when I was going through this and comparing it to the previous two that we looked at.
So you think that this content's actually too polished?
Well, I wouldn't say it's too polished. It's well written. It was a distinction from the previous two.
So you had something to compare.
Right.
Which
Makes it easier now.
Right. Okay. All right. Next one. All right. So this topic is how much should you expect to pay to patent your product? Let's see if it's factual. First and foremost, is the information accurate? That's my first question.
Yes and no. This range is pretty specific here. I would say that you can really start out much lower and go higher, depending on the content of the application you're looking to pursue. So yeah, for a lot of people, you can certainly go in much lower than 8,000. Yeah, I'm going to say this was a human.
Okay. Yep, you guessed right. This was a human. So, and I think I don't think GPT will actually give us hard numbers, right?
I don't know. Look at it. We had to do that one too.
This one's human.
Yeah, we had AI do the same prompt.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Yeah, let's check AI. Chris, I just don't look. Let's check what AI said. So it did the same prompt. What happens if how much did you expect to pay? So this was the AI version. Cost of obtaining a patent varies from country to country. Generally, it will depend on the type of... See, so AI won't it won't take risks, basically.
But
That's a good way to say it. Yeah.
It won't try to set an expectation with the viewer. It'll just be very flat.
so given
Well, it did say hundreds to thousands of dollars. Hundreds would be
100 or 200.
Yeah, so it's a little more vague. And again, kind of with the theme we discussed before, it's a little more polished in the explanation, but maybe less helpful in providing examples.
do you think that the vagueness with that sort of price range as opposed to the definitive numbers is probably a better set of somebody's expectation?
Yeah, well, if I'm talking to someone about filing a patent application, of course I'm going to try and tailor that to their specific situation. I guess if I didn't know anything about what they wanted to do, I might give them information that was more similar to this.
Yeah.
Although I could give them more specific ranges than hundreds to thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that doesn't...
maybe somewhere in the middle.
Right. Okay, perfect. All right, let's move on to the last one.
All right.
All right, so this one is, what happens if your patent expires and it gets taken by someone else?
Well, I'm going to say this was a human.
Okay, and what made you think that?
Well, it's not accurate.
Okay.
All right, so, a few just red flags here. Not clear why someone would want to buy an expired patent. Because it wouldn't help them, of course. It's not that the patent has been expired for 14 or 20 years. It's that it's been 14 or 20 years since the patent was filed. As soon as the patent is expired, it's no longer enforceable. So
Got it.
anyone can make, use, sell the invention.
Okay. Well, would it make you happy to know that you were correct?
Yes.
You are correct. So now I'm obviously curious on what
What's
AI
the
said.
AI say? So this has problems too.
Yeah.
Right, so if a patent expires, the new owner of the patent has the right to make and use the invention. But there is no new owner of the patent. It's just anyone who wants to make and use the invention. Right, the patent has expired.
Can you give us an example?
The original inventor is not allowed to produce or sell anything that makes use of the invention. See, that's also not accurate. So once your patent expires, you can still make it, use, and sell the invention. You just can't necessarily enforce your expired patent against someone else from making, using, or selling the invention. So this one's not very accurate either, it looks like.
Interesting.
Yeah, this would be very bad advice for someone who is seeking to enforce patent rights.
So a robot lawyer isn't a good idea.
Well, at least not in this answer, no.
Okay. But the other ones you think answered it
Some of
pretty
the
okay.
other ones, yeah, it seems like, and I think we kind of discussed this earlier, that AI might be good for providing background information, maybe kind of vague descriptions of legal concepts, but then when it gets into more specific concepts, maybe not so useful.
Understood. And so would you, like for a website company, right? Because that's what we are. Would you recommend website companies utilize ChatGPT to write text on the client website?
So what? I mean, it depends, of course, on
Let's say
on
criminal
what
law.
Criminal. Yeah. That's that provides some legal issues on its own, but especially if it gives the impression that you're giving legal advice. And obviously the Chat GPT is not a registered attorney, and I don't think Develomark is.
Nope, we're definitely not.
So you'd have to be careful with doing stuff like this. And but here's what it could do. If you wanted to provide a description of something or a synthesis of the law, you could have a Chat GPT prepare something, and then you could have a lawyer review it. Probably save you a lot of money, because now the lawyer doesn't have to actually write that for you. And then you could provide that information.
Interesting. So it sounds like, kind of like what I thought the whole point is just eliminating writer's block or creative block.
Right, yeah, and doing some basic legal research without having to have an attorney go through that and spend a lot of time on it.
Do you foresee, who owns this text, would you say then?
That's an open question. I would say, according to the law right now, whoever owns the AI probably owns the copyright to the text. That's an emerging legal issue in patent law. If an AI develops an invention, who owns the invention? I think more importantly, whether the AI can be considered an inventor for the patent application, or whether it's the human who made the AI or the company that owns the AI. So those are all things that are in the works, and I think we'll be thinking about those for some time still.
What do you think the answer is going to be? The company, obviously, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Is the AI, it's kind of a stretch. At one end, you have a computer program that's designed by a person, and it's helping to develop some kind of invention. And then on the other end, you have a computer program that's creating an invention from scratch. And then there's this gray area in the middle, right? Is it a tool created by a human, kind of like any other tool, a calculator or a CAD program or something like that? Or does it have inventive capacity? And those questions are hard to grasp.
Interesting. And so if somebody puts out bad information, can they argue that it was the AI and not them?
Well, sure, unless you are providing that. If I provided advice to a client and that advice was wrong because I got it from an AI that was wrong, I'm responsible for it.
Right. So website publishers still should take notice of what they're publishing, whether it's from an AI or themselves.
Right, and they want to make clear that it's not legal advice. It's, you're providing information. It could be wrong, it could be right, and that's for the user to decide. Of course, it could be helpful in helping their understanding of a legal concept.
So where do you think disclaimers play in the role of website publishers using this tool? Do you think that website publishers should use disclaimers that some of the information was collected using an AI?
Yeah, if you're concerned about people potentially relying on the information in some capacity, that could be medical information, legal information, financial information, that sort of thing, then I think that's wise. If you're using AI to write a fictional story, probably not as important.
Right.
But certainly if there's a concern that people will take what they're reading and do something, then you want to let them know that this information could be bad. It was written by an AI. Could be right, could be wrong.
Interesting. Any questions?
One of the things I was curious about is, could you see yourself using this to draft a contract that you write for a client?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I could use this to even just create kind of a framework or something like that, and then go through and say, this is good, this is bad, we need to redo this. It would certainly save time, and it would save our clients money if we could do that. Of course, it has to be effective, right? If I'm spending more time fixing it than I'm saving from the initial writing, then it's not necessarily any good.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that could be helpful, and I think it will be helpful. The time will tell.
And then the only other one that I had was, could you see it getting to a point where artificial intelligence is used basically to decide whether something is too close to something else, from a legal standpoint, so design cues or design languages?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I do a lot of work with the U.S. Patent Office. We have discussions between ourselves and the Patent Office about whether inventions are patentable or not, how close the prior art is to patent applications that we've filed. And it would certainly make sense for the patent office to maybe use an AI to, again, do some initial investigation into an application to see what's out there. So in that regard, yeah, I mean, they might be using an AI to see what's close and what isn't, and we might be using an AI to try and do the opposite. So you might have a battle of who has the best AI too.
I think that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I already see it. Microsoft, Google, OpenAI.
Yeah.
Well, Microsoft is OpenAI, so
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. And tell me a little bit about what you did today.
So today we discussed some of the concepts involved in the application of AI to legal concerns, legal writing, and analysis of legal issues, and how that AI performance might be used in the future to improve results for clients or average people who are interested in reviewing the law.
And what is your total outcome or synopsis after today's reviewing?
Yeah, I'm impressed by some of the writing that I'm seeing from the AI. It's not necessarily perfect, but it certainly can provide useful information, although I think that it will have to be, at least for the foreseeable future, verified by humans who know the law as well.